We are going to be talking about a couple of things now today with some people from places that you do not usually get them from. Like last week, we had France. Upcoming, we're going to have South Africa. And tonight, we have Hawaii, where I wish I was right now. Anyway, Zach Royer, he is a researcher. He moved to Hawaii in the early 2011 to help some of the damages from the Japan tsunami. And from there on in, he has done some things that you're going to hear about tonight that are just out of this world. Like, for instance, ancient pyramids in Hawaii. Could you believe that? Well, we're going to hear it from him first. Zach.
Hey, Bob. How are you?
Hey, congratulations. You're actually on the Bob Charles Show from Hawaii.
Well, thank you. Thank you, yeah.
Aloha.
Aloha
Yeah.
Friday.
Yeah, I see that. I learned. I've been sitting up all day remembering aloha. What's this? Aloha, whatever. I never can get it right.
It's aloha, and it basically means love. It's saying you have love for your fellow man, your fellow human being.
There you go.
It's both a greeting and a farewell in Hawaii, so we say it all the time.
There. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but you wouldn't want to come over here because everybody over here says y'all.
Exactly. Too funny. Well, happy Aloha Friday, everyone. Thanks for having me on the show, Bob.
Yeah. Let's dive right into this. You are doing some research and a picture of film on something that's going on in Hawaii right now that people just do not realize could even be in Hawaii. So why don't you tell me a little bit about it?
Sure. Well, it all started with a book called The Secrets and Mysteries of Hawaii. It's not really secret if it's in a book, right?
No, not at all.
So anyways, after reading this book and talking with the author and stuff, I did find out that there are, in fact, genuine pyramids here on the island that could be some of the oldest pyramids on the planet. We're talking back in the days of Lemuria and Mu, which is at the center of a lot of tension right now. Researcher Graham Hancock has a wonderful film called The Quest for the Lost Civilization. All his research points to the middle of the Pacific Ocean, right where I am in Hawaii. So
we talked about that last night.
Yeah, it's real fascinating. But I spoke with the author of the book Secrets and Mysteries of Hawaii, and he told me that he actually sent some real pyramid researchers looking for this thing. And in that time, this researcher has written 3 books about Giza pyramids and other things. And so there's just a lot to be explored here. And I can't really find any of it online, and only in this one book. It's kind of a mystery. And so that's what I've been focusing on, is shedding some light on that mystery.
I looked for it too.
Did you look for it on the internet? And it's very rare that you'll see anything about it. I mean, it's not even really talked about, but it's hinted about, and you have so many wonderful researchers today that are paving the way. I'm pretty young. I'm in my late 20s, and so if I know anything, it's because of the wonderful research of people before me. And so I wanted to say thanks to all of them. Anyone interested in pyramid mysteries or megaliths, with a few names in particular, David Hatcher Childress, Graham Hancock, Dan Shaw, everybody. Thank you so much for shedding light on all that and kind of allowing me to explore my inner Indiana Jones, in a sense. And, it all started with Hawaii. It's just there's a lot of mystery here. It really is like living in another country, because you've got your own cultures, your own language, and your own traditions and your own histories, and so that's where I kind of started my research, was with their traditions and their histories and their stories, and it led me back to a story called the Kumu Lipo. Okay, that's spelled Kumulipo. And what's funny is that in that word you have the word mu in there. I'm going to talk about that later. But this is the creation and destruction story of Hawaii. Every culture has one across the world. The ones I'm particularly interested in are the ones that bear resemblance to other ones. The ones that talk about a flood in particular, or a cataclysm or a deluge. And so you find dozens of cultures talking about this same story, yet they're separated by thousands and thousands of miles. And so how do they have these similar cultures? That's the basis of where my research is right now, is what tied in these cultures. And, nobody can say 100% of what it is, but we can all theorize. And a lot of us have come up with the same conclusion, is that there was a continent that existed a long time ago, possibly pre-deluge, antediluvian, and it was either covered with a lot of water or was destroyed. And, that ties in. The reason I'm into all of that is because it's all cyclical. And whatever happens may happen again. And here we are in 2012. I'm going to talk about it. We're less than 3 months away from the magical date of December 21st, 2012. And what does that date really mean? What is going on with that date? And the best thing I know is that it's the end of the great year, the precession of the equinox. And a lot of energies happen around that time. The same energies that power pyramids, for instance. Like we heard in the intro, pyramids generate electricity. They generate power. It's part of the telluric energies.
Yes.
And it's an amazing concept, is how could our Earth planet generate electricity, possibly that we could use to be a sustainable civilization? I mean, it seems like all the answers were figured out and left in stone for us to have. But mainstream, academia and historians, they're afraid to admit it for some reason. And, I think that's because of powers that be would maybe lose profits, due to the oil industries. And, if we had free energy, what would all the gas stations do? I mean, it would just be, it would be a better future, first of all, is what it would be. It would be cleaner. It would be the future that we were meant to have. And, I'm going to try all I can to bring that awareness on that fact to the public's attention. Everyone's interested in pyramids because they're so mysterious, and specifically grid lines and ley lines and these places of power. They all correlate with each other. They're all related. And what I recently discovered, what got me to write my book, Pyramid Rising, was I was keeping a map of in my lab of all the earthquakes that have taken place since early 2011. I was plotting them all. And so I had a map full of different colored pins in different areas all around the world. There's thousands and thousands of them. I only did 5.0s and higher. And so after a long time, I had quite a few. 2011 was a big year with earthquakes, and 2012 has already, I think, had more, if I'm not mistaken. But then I started getting into the grid work, the energy grids and the pyramid stuff after being in Hawaii. First it was earthquakes, and then it started into grid work. And so on the same map that I had these pins on, I traced and I drew Dan Shaw's Vortex map, the big map of all the grid lines. They're online. You can find, just type in world grid or energy grid map, and you'll see the crystalline looking world map. Well, I drew that on this map, and I was astonished at what I saw. I saw many large earthquakes occurring at these grid locations. Okay, so what do you think of that? I mean, is there a relationship between the two? Do major earthquakes happen at these locations because energies are really excited there? And I think so. And the basis of my book is that pyramids, one of the alternative functions of the pyramid, not only for energy generation, but to stabilize the seismic energies in the earth.
Exactly.
To prevent earthquakes and to minimize natural disasters. I can go into detail on how I came up with that theory, and I don't even know if I came up with that theory. That was just kind of the common deduction of what I saw looking at this map, and it's real fascinating. It's just real fascinating how pyramids and megaliths too, stone structures like Stonehenge and Mohenjo-Daro and all of the other megaliths around the world. You know, they were created in certain places because of heightened energies. You know, if you look at a map, you'll notice that most of the great pyramids of the world occur within a certain line of latitude and longitude. You know, and so that's because it's the seismic belt. It's a highly unstable belt of energy, and so yeah, it really gets deeper and deeper the more you research it. But basically, the conclusion I came up with is that pyramids and megaliths they need to be placed at certain grid locations to minimize what may come during 2012. And more of my research says that they have a stimulating effect on the Earth's magnetic field, which is deteriorating. You know, so anybody that's doing research and into all this is really should be commended, because they're trying to save the planet and maybe lessen things that are coming. You know, I want to point out though that just because the world didn't end for you today, that doesn't mean the people that died in an earthquake in another country, it didn't end for them. So we're looking at a global picture here, and I think there's still time. You know, there is still time to do something and to get involved and to learn about these pyramid energies. Like we said, like the intro said towards the end about pyramids, is that we will never understand them unless we try to understand God and to look into the God aspect of the pyramid energy. So that's just a great point of the whole thing too. You know, this will balance out our technologies in the world as well as the spirituality that we need in order to use these technologies correctly. No, that's all I got. You know.
No, there was one thing that was pretty funny in it. Years ago, I'm not talking today. I'm talking a long time ago. And we used to. I mean, I happen to be one of these guys that were like into the Babylon thing and the Egyptians and the whole nine yards. And I loved them to death because everything they did was so cool. You know, it was like, how could people do that? You know, and then after a while we brought in the aliens, and it went on and on and on from there. But the idea of the thing is, these pyramids it's so funny in that, because I did go to Mexico and I did see the pyramids that were in Mexico. And I mean, I've seen a billion pictures of the ones in Egypt, and I do have people, in fact, that are going there. But if you look at them all, they're all almost the same. And what you're saying about them being on a grid line, that I just happened to today, as a matter of fact, get like a whole story about the grids and everything that I was going through. And it is so amazing that you are so correct. Because of the plain fact as the energy lines that have like Hawaii is an energy line. It's on it.
Yes, it is.
So, I mean, that's
19.5.
Yeah, what is it? Hilo, I think the island is?
High, yeah.
Yeah, high, okay. That place, that's zero right there. I mean, that's the place that's the same as Sedona.
Right.
In Arizona. So if you get all those places in that, and you do draw lines in between them, it's amazing, because people have thought for years and years and years, like, these things are there, they're really cool, we go and see them, hey, we bring the kids, take a picture, go goodbye, go home. And I mean, I'm serious. And all of a sudden today, through this show, believe it or not, I'm getting a lot of questions in that because of them, because people are actually listening and saying, like, hey, maybe they're right. Because nobody had took the time to take a step back and present an idea. Because that's what we're doing. We don't know what's going to happen after 12/21, which is really funny, because I have somebody that I have a quantum physics person coming on my show on 12/20. So that should be good. We may be there on 12/22, but we're not sure yet. But
that's going to be a good show.
It's going to be. I'm telling you, I can't wait to wake up on 12/22. I may go out and run in my pajamas out in the middle of the street somewhere. But the idea of the thing is, these are all things that people are learning about today. They could have learned about them all their lives, but all of a sudden, something, which means the date, made everybody slow down and start reading and listening. And that's a good thing, because that is what's going to give the whole humanity thing a kickstart and put them back to where the listening and learning comes from.
Exactly. On that day, more people will probably be on the same brainwave as any other time, because they don't quite know what's going to happen. So it's a big mystery, and you got to give yourself a lot of credit. The human being, we're incredible survivors, and so we'll make it no matter what happens. And we'll be okay. I'm expecting the next day as well. It's just a lot of earthquakes are supposed to happen, and there could be an alignment that day, which may have more of an earthquake than normal because things are in alignment. And that's what's going on here, is that the ancients knew how to predict and align and get everything perfectly mathematical 1,000 years in advance, thousands of years in advance. And we're alive in one of the most amazing times. And so, but our consciousness has a big part of it. We all have to stay positive. We can't go into now until then with any kind of negative outlook, because the people that are talking about 1221 are only talking about it to give awareness, to bring awareness to it, not to say you're going to die and you have to buy my book to survive and this and that and the other thing. But we just want to bring awareness to something that's been apparently talked about and predicted for thousands of years.
Yep.
And it all comes to the grand cycle, and it's going to be one of the most amazing times in history. Both, even if nothing happens, because it'll go down as the date, that everyone was wrong about or something like that. And but the Earth is still here. There's nothing in the sky that I've seen coming around the sun that's going to come close to us, or any of those stories. It's only believe what you can verify and do research on and fact check. And take that with other scientists and researchers who are doing the same thing, and compare notes. You can't really believe anything that you read on the internet. You've got to research and compare notes. So, that's it, pretty much.
Well, you do say that there is an excerpt from your book in Pyramid Rising. It said it isn't the end of the world. How we'll survive 2012 and beyond.
Yeah, that's the subtitle. It isn't the end of the world.
It's fantastic.
And, go ahead.
I said it's fantastic. I mean, it sums everything up in one line. Exactly,
and I got to thank my publisher for suggesting the use of a subtitle, and it does. It does sum everything up. It's a positive book. It doesn't talk of the problems. I don't go into detail of the problems because too many people are detailing problems today. We know the problems. What I go in detail about, Bob, is the solution, and that would be the pyramids and the stones and the megaliths. I'm working with people that are developing modern day grid maps. I'm talking detailed down to the foot and to the meter, detailed maps of specific energy lines and where we would need to build certain ones. And basically the grid is like I was thinking of this earlier. It's like a store, and some stores have super stores and some stores don't. Well, some grid locations are supercharged and some aren't. And we would, most of the locations already have a pyramid on them, like Giza in Central America. But we can do more. We can build more, and it will have nothing but a positive effect on the planet and the people. And so that's what Pyramid Rising is about. It's about building complexes with precise mathematics and alignments, just like our ancients did. We should be able to at least match their quality in today's world. We can't go on anymore thinking, oh, we can't even do it. We can't even do it. Take can't out of the vocabulary and start saying we must do it.
Right.
We must do it. And here in Hawaii, it's all about aloha and laid back and taking the Hawaiian time. It's an actual phenomenon. But when I moved here, I kind of moved here to help start a futuristic news network, because places like Hawaii it would be good to bring them into the future and into the news. And little did I know that there's a free energy, what would be the closest thing to a free energy device miles from my house that converts cold seawater and makes electricity by running water through cold to hot water. It's an industrial-sized heat pump, they call it. And so there's alternatives on the market, and pyramids aren't going to essentially power the entire world, but they're going to benefit the atmosphere and the magnetosphere of the Earth by re-stimulating it. You could basically say the shields are down, and we need to turn them on or do what we can. And there's people and countries doing that. Actually, Russia and China are two of the countries that are actually leading the way in pyramidology and pyramid science, especially Russia. And so a lot of my book outlines some of their science. They've done experiments. They have all the photos. I mean, pyramid energy is real. It's no longer a myth, but it can save the planet. And so we need to start approaching it from a rational perspective, not a metaphysical one anymore. You know, this is.
I would say they better think real quick.
Yeah, exactly.
Real quick. But you know what? I just wanted to interrupt you for just 1 second. When I was here, and David Sarita was on with me, and that he was explaining how a pyramid, for instance, the one in Egypt, was actually made just like a battery.
Exactly.
It's actually put together. I didn't know that. I mean, you know, I took a quantum physics, person to come in and tell me how it's built. I already knew that it had a bunch of stuff inside of it that I didn't know what it was, and I didn't know what it was for.
Right.
But he explained it, and I did get a couple of really great emails there from people that said, "No way." And I was like, "Yeah, way."
Yeah, exactly. There were casing stones. It held energy. I mean, it's apparent. I mean, if you know what a battery does, it just stores electricity. It's the same thing. But they're using the earth to generate the electricity, the same energy that's used in earthquakes and the same energy that powers hurricanes and typhoons and lightning. They're using the energy that is provided by nature instead of using nature to provide energy.
Right.
So it's it's backwards. It really
is.
It is. And
well, don't forget the pyramid is an upside down funnel. The Earth itself is producing the energy, and it goes through the pyramid to wherever it's going.
To the atmosphere. It's pointed up to our magnetosphere, for a reason.
Well, that's a big story.
It regenerates the magnet, with the ozone layer and all the magnetosphere, all of those spheres up there. It's all connected. It really is. And I don't know too much of the terms exactly, but look at the planet's magnetics, right? It's pretty apparent that things are kind of haywire right now. Supposedly the poles are moving at a certain rate every year, and then you have these huge giant battery things that people say are just tombs sitting around everywhere on the planet, hundreds of them. And no one's really saying, well, I wonder if there's an alternative purpose for these things.
Yeah.
Actually, a lot of people are saying that. Christopher Dunn is saying that, and all sorts of other researchers are saying that. But no one's really taking it seriously. No one's putting it in terms that everyone will understand, and that would be build pyramids, reduce earthquakes. I can't say it any more simpler than that. Build pyramids and reduce the amount of natural disasters that are plaguing people around the world. Did you have anything else? Because I wanted to bring up one more point about the Easter Island heads. Actually, they have bodies.
Yes.
And it's been discovered that they're buried, up to their chins sometimes in the ground. Well, what are they doing in the ground? Were they covered? Were they intentionally buried? What's the deal with that? And after moving to Hawaii and reading that first book, the Secrets and Mysteries book, it kind of led the way into the Lemuria and the Mu book. books, and so I went to the library and just checked out every book, and amazingly, the library here had almost every single book on Lemuria. It's like, whoa, okay, thank you. So I read all those, and in one book particular by Frank Joseph called was it Lemuria, the Rise and Fall of the World's Oldest Civilization?
That's who was on yesterday.
Oh, wow, you had Frank on yesterday.
Yes,
excellent.
Yes, I did.
Wow.
So that's how I learned.
Yeah, he's really shed some light on what the stone heads were for, and that is to just dissipate some of the intense energies in that area. If you look at fault lines, you've got a big merging of fault lines down there by Easter Island, and so if somebody so advanced knew that building huge basalt moai heads or bodies and burying them would reduce the amount of earthquakes, something obviously happened. Whatever happened before the flood, the great disaster, the deluge, something happened, and I don't know if the bodies were erected right after to prevent any more destruction from happening, whatever sunk Atlantis or Lemuria, or if they're remnants of what was there, and they didn't quite get it in time, because it looks like some major disaster happened. I don't like to focus on the disasters and the problems, but more of the solutions. But you can't deny that something caused the Grand Canyons and the watermarks on the side of the pyramids and the Sphinx. There's watermarks on the side of the pyramids suggesting that it was flooded at one time by something. And there's just a lot of evidence saying something happened. And so I just don't want to repeat it. I don't want history and man to repeat it again, and women. I don't want anyone to go through that. If the pyramids and all the megaliths and all the grid was activated, I believe that the entire planet would have nice climate temperatures in the 70s and 80s and very few earthquakes. And if there was any kind of solar eruptions or anything on the sun, that our electromagnetic sphere would be stabilized enough to block it out instead of getting bombarded with the radiation. And so you have to look at planets like Mars that don't have the magnetic field. Their surface is pretty much destroyed, and so we don't want that to happen to us. And our magnetic field is weakening, and so I've often wondered, is HAARP a modern day attempt at stabilizing the field? Is it a necessary evil? Are they blasting HAARP and causing things, but in an attempt to try to save or are they trying to wipe everyone out first and cause these disasters and cause chaos, because chaos leads to order or something like that?
New world order.
Right, exactly. So are they keeping the planet in a chaotic state so they can keep order, supposedly? And I think so. And if the pyramids were built and activated and reconstructed, they would lose control of the electric power because that'd be free energy. That's something Tesla was working on. But they shut him down. And so Tesla is the modern-day key to all of this. He's one of my biggest heroes, Nikola Tesla. If you haven't heard of him, you should really check him out. He's one of the greatest inventors and people or discoverers of all times. His famous tower, Wardenclyffe, actually was built above an aquifer, just like the Great Pyramids in Egypt. There's water underneath, and somehow they were able to take that water and that static energy and convert it up through the tower and able to direct that energy. This is what Tesla was working on. He was able to harness this energy and direct it. And they labeled him as a mad scientist with a death ray and this and that. Well, that's because the people that owned the newspaper at the time were probably, friends with Morgan and all of it was all tied in and corrupted. And basically, Tesla was the last greatest chance we had at free energy, and now it's become more of a subculture, I guess. it's got attention because I'm part of a lot of the free energy groups that are on Facebook and websites, and there's a huge movement of it. But it seems like nothing is, I'm still paying $6 a gallon near, and, I'm still paying the highest rates for electricity in the nation, Hawaii. So free energy, yes, it's being talked about, but it hasn't quite reached the home yet. And so there's just a big cusp right now. Everything is just converging all at one time in humanity. And here we are, months and months away from that. But you can have a big change today. You can take a step today, and that would be to research any of the stuff we've been talking about, look on the internet and try to connect with others that are doing the same thing. Try, starting with the community. It's all about community and what you can do on a local effort. And if you think locally, acting globally will kind of, it'll come naturally. Look at all the Occupy movements that have sparked change and sparked all sorts of other things, good and bad, but, change is always good. Change is always welcome because the way things are right now isn't really that good for a lot of people, Don't even get me going into the politics. That's what you guys were talking about earlier. Yeah. Let's keep it on the mystery, and the pyramid energy and the... we're going to survive, and everything's going to be okay.
I was going to say, there could be kids listening, so we got to keep it clean. But on the other hand, let's take a step back for a sec. What are you going to do in the next 3 weeks?
What am I going to do in the next 3 weeks? Okay. I have some new data that tells me where these pyramids are located, especially one on towards the southern tip of the Big Island.
Wow.
I'm going to be, backpacking and, if I have to, camping out in these, foothills and trying to find this pyramid. I have a book right in my hands right now that talks about the pyramid, and what he says is really convincing. It says the pyramid itself was most recently discovered by an Apache sister who has stewardship at some incredible sacred grounds a few miles south of there in a place called Wood Valley, and that's where I'm going to be is the Wood Valley area of the Big Island. Her stewardship is at the top of a triangle of loamy soil that is thought to be part of the original Lemuria that's never been covered over by the lava flows that have caused the island to be labeled so young. So it's commonly accepted that this island is the youngest of all islands because here's the Mount Kilauea and the volcano. It's constantly making new coastline of volcanic coastlines. But here, supposedly, is a patch of land that has not been covered over by any volcanic flows, so there may be some very old artifacts. I'm very excited to go in search of. So that's what I'm going to be doing in the next 3 weeks. I'm going to be getting together my team at Kahuna Research Group, and we're going to be looking for these mysteries in the most respectable way possible. And I've been talking with a lot of people that know about it and kind of know the area. So I've generated a good lead, and I plan on going in search of in the next couple weeks and talking with you again later in November about what I find and what we uncover.
Yeah, because in November, by that time, we should know whether there was really something there or maybe it was a story.
Right.
But on the other hand, you know and I know, and probably half of the people out there now, because we've been talking about this now for at least the last 2 weeks, people are going to realize somewhere that when you come to these vortexes or grid lines, and that you're going to find something that wasn't expected to be found. And just lately, those things are happening. For you and your crew and everybody that you have on there, I mean, it should be something that I wish I was there. I mean, I'm the kind of kid that I'm a little kid when it comes to that stuff. I want to find things.
It's great. It's the inner Indiana. That's what I was talking about. The inner Indiana Jones that's in everybody, because we all have a yearning for the truth and excitement. And, yeah, I wish you were here, too. It'd be real fun. It'd be real fun.
I'm crazy. I mean, I put on the shorts and plenty of mosquito stuff, and I'm ready to go. For sure.
Well, you'll need it out there. There's tons of skeeters, so yep.
The big ones too. They'll probably pick you up and take you away. But you are. It's funny too, Nate, because when I read your background, Nate, you founded the Kahuna Research Group on 11/11/11.
Yeah, I did, and that was after 2 days of deciding on what name to settle on, and a series of synchronicities that led to that. Because I never really knew what Kahuna was, but a couple other people, they kept mentioning it, and that's when I was kind of researching all the local legends, and it just kind of clicked together. And one more thing is that the pyramids, they've kind of managed to synchronistically bring the people together that need to be brought together. So there's a force, I think, behind all this that's beyond our control. And the way I know that is because I keep seeing synchronicities and having weird experiences where I'm like, whoa, and things that kind of are unexplained. Carl Jung did a lot of writing into synchronicity, and I really think he nailed it. Whatever you do during your day, you should have subtle hints and signs that what you're doing is the right thing, is what you should be doing, and I constantly get those reminders, so it's really humbly I just respect whatever the spirits that are behind all this, that are behind the grand play. It's just real amazing, really is.
When we were actually talking about what you were doing, and that with the pyramids in Hawaii, and that the first thing that came out of my mouth was, I hope you have an asbestos suit. Because I swore. I mean, if you look at my Facebook page, there's a picture of one of the volcanoes erupting, and that over there. Now, I actually put that on. That was for you, by the way.
Oh,
but the idea of the thing was that you always feel. I mean, there are vents in all of these volcanoes that are over there.
Sure.
And I was always wondering, when is one of these things just going to wear itself down to a point that something underneath actually pops up?
Right.
Because most of the magma that's under it is not fully hard yet. Not until you hit, the end of the flume.
Yes.
That's there. So the stuff that's inside, you figure, what is it, 5,000 degrees or something in there?
That's really hot.
Yeah, see, that's hot, all right, that's for sure. But the idea of the thing is somewhere's in there, I mean, you never know what could come up.
Yeah, exactly. You have to be real careful, and you can't just go into these places without the right gear. Like you said, you need safety equipment, and oftentimes helmets, ropes, because some of this lava here is real sharp. So that's probably what's been stopping a lot of people from going in search of is the danger, the imminent danger that goes along with it. Every Indiana Jones movie, and I'm not comparing myself to him, but there's always a factor of danger, and that nothing changes. It's pretty big stuff, caves and collapses, and with all the earth changes going on, are there going to be new lava tubes opening and new lava flows? I mean, yeah, so it's something you have to approach carefully.
What do the natives over there say about this?
The locals, they pretty much, one thing I did find out is that the word volcano and the word pyramid are interchangeable in the Hawaiian language. So they kind of mean the same thing, volcano and pyramid. I haven't really spoke with too many locals that have known about the pyramid at all. Nobody really has said anything. I've kind of been trying to get as much background on the story as possible. The most that I've heard is a friend of a friend who knows about the pyramids that might be able to tell us a story. But other than that, it's here in Hawaii, you don't really just go kind of talking about things. You kind of keep it on the down low, and you don't just really overexpose it too much. And that's one thing I don't want to do start a huge, gold rush kind of a thing.
No.
But, good luck if you're trying to find it, because there's been people before and there will probably be people after, but personally, pyramids are just something that I'm obsessed with, because I know they can really cover a lot of the factors of reality that we're lacking in. Our energy production, our spirituality. There's just so much to it.
Well, that's for sure. As far as the actual pyramids and that are concerned, there was no in the actual history of the island. Is there anything that you can find that goes back far enough in that to be able to say that something was there?
What do you mean?
Well, usually a lot of the history of an island, or like Hawaii, and that would have something that would draw back far enough that it would show more of the ancient history and where the first people that went to the island came from and things like that and what they saw. Sometimes in there, and that's where they find things that lead them to the research that actually finds the pyramids.
That could be. I'm not too familiar with the lineage or the history of the islands too much, because modern science says it's only 500,000 years old, and it could be older, it could be newer than that. But as far as the going back into Hawaiian stories, the Kumalipo is the farthest one I can trace back, and that's either the creation and the destruction story. And it basically said that mountaintops were considered sacred, and that's where, that's what Hawaii is. Hawaii is just a bunch of mountaintops sticking out of the ocean, active volcanoes. And there's just, I hope that kind of touched on what you were asking.
Yeah. First of all, Ned, I don't know who the heck would want to go and live in a volcano, but that's okay. I mean, I watched Hawaii 5-0 in that last night, and I'm looking at all these beautiful cities in that on the mainland, and I'm saying to myself, are they nuts?
Right.
I mean, come on.
Exactly.
One boom and everybody runs, right? I mean, look, let's face it. If you got a rowboat, it's a long way to California.
I know it, and I try not to think about it like that. But one thing that's calms me down a little bit is the fact that in the stories, they survived the Great Flood at the top of Mount. In the local legends here, that they survived at the top of Mauna Kea, the tallest mountain in the world, the one with the observatories on the top.
Right.
And I'm pretty close to that. I'm on the west coast of the island, and the volcano's on the
east side.
Pretty much on the east side. Yeah. And but it's definitely a concern. You have to think realistically when you do live on a volcano. I mean, what were the people living in Pompeii thinking? Or anywhere for that matter, close to a volcano or active fault line that could. But see, that's the thing, is like, in the volcano, I'm trying to, with Pyramid Rising, trying to outline a solution that may calm all this stuff down, and kind of stabilize things a bit for future generations instead of using it all up now. Let's slow things down. If we stabilized earthquakes and volcanoes, that's less CO2 going into the air. Volcanoes put out more carbon dioxide than people do, that's for sure. And so if we can just kind of start a pyramid movement and just ask questions and demand some answers, some real answers, I think we'll find that a lot of the history books may need to be rewritten, especially in regards to how long we've been here and who built the pyramids and what they're all about, So there's just a lot of it seems like pyramids kind of touch base on everything, even UFOs. There's a lot of sightings around these pyramids and at these vortex locations, and basically, who knows? Maybe these extraterrestrials are the ones that made this grid so they can travel on it. Because you've got these energies that connect all of them, and when you're traveling at high speeds and speed of light, and in these advanced crafts, you're kind of relying on mathematics and precision on all levels. And so a lot of my most current research, and one of the persons that knows where the pyramid is also studying UFOs. He's managed to capture 600 photos and 11 videos of these crafts around mountains and what look like pyramids. The pyramids may be a little rounded and may have growth on it. It's not going to be in stone like the ones out in the desert. This is going to have thousands of years of growth on it. But I wanted to read one thing. It says, this is from the Secrets and Mysteries. When I discovered the pyramid for myself, I was standing with friends in a sugarcane field. I had hiked there many times to no avail. This day, the clouds parted suddenly, and there it was, looking exactly like a replica of the Great Pyramid of Giza. So this author is claiming that there's a pyramid that sometimes is hidden in the clouds and doesn't quite expose itself. And I do know for a fact that there's always rain back in there in these hills. So there's a lot of clouds, and visibility is not going to be the best. But the fact that he sent some real archaeologists in search of these pyramids is more than proof to me that something does exist back there that's worth looking for. Other researchers and archaeologists are also looking for it. I think his name was Rico Paganini. Author Rico Paganini was in search of this South Point Lemurian pyramid, and I never got a chance to read his books, but he's done a lot of research into the pyramids around the world as well. So there's an overwhelming amount of evidence to suggest that the pyramids were left for modern societies by the ancients because they were thoughtful enough to leave the solution for us years and years and years in advance. And so we're just now beginning to understand this, that they kind of knew things were going to be a certain way, either energetically or pyramids are earthquake-proof, right?
Right.
An earthquake will not bring down a pyramid. So
no.
Obviously they're pyramid or they're earthquake resistant. So that's another proof right there. It's we've just got to approach this with common sense, and I keep hearing that, that we're lacking in common sense. Majority, especially the folks on the Jimmy Kimmel show that were, making stuff up in midair. I couldn't believe that. I even saw that myself. I just want to say a message to everyone. It's like, check your facts twice, talk about it once, measure twice, cut once kind of a thing. And we've really got to listen to those that are doing the research and putting the facts out there before we believe anything that's on television, because we all know that television can be misleading sometimes. And I hardly ever watch television, and if I do, there's a special channel here that's all about the island, and so I'm constantly monitoring that to see if they make any mention of anything with pyramids or. Oh, and another thing is, in Hawaii they have what's known as a heiau, and these are sacred sites with that are built with stone. Okay, they're built in stone, a lot like rocks, rocks that you could lift yourself. You just stacked next to each other, but they don't really have the top, the apex. They're left flat on top. And I've got dozens and dozens of photos of the heiaus around here, and so the Hawaiians were definitely megalith builders. They've built lots of things out of stone, and you'll see that all throughout the Pacific. All these megaliths on all these random islands, and it's all really connected. The ancients knew that somehow building these structures, it made the weather better. It made it not so bad. And to them, they took it really seriously. Earthquake prevention and enough to build structures all across the planet. It must have taken a globally coordinated effort to do this. and like it's just the more you research it, the deeper the rabbit hole gets, and I'm hoping for a lot more clarity than what I've uncovered in the next couple months, and especially in the next 3 weeks when I go searching for these pyramids. Anytime that I'm working on pyramid research, it seems like the keys and the dots just connect, and that's when I function the best, when the dots connect.
You just said the best thing you could have, because that's what people always say about this show. We connect dots. Because all these stories are relative to each other, just like yours.
And that's why I'm so glad to be on your show, Bob. It's really an honor. Thank you so much.
Hey, you kidding me? I wanted you on the show. You is the man.
Oh, man.
Hey, listen. All kidding aside, in a couple of weeks now, you're going to be back and you're going to tell us what happened.
Yes.
So that should be pretty good. That and you'll probably smell of mosquito spray. But I wouldn't worry too much about that, because I think this is going to, I mean, let's face it. We, as a human race, all of us, I don't care what country or where you came from or what you look like or anything, we all have the right to know.
Exactly.
And we all have to know the truth. So, we are, like you and others, are going out to find out the truth.
Awesome.
Which is good. A good thing. Now,
that's a great thing. Yep.
What we're going to do is we're going to wrap this up. Thank you very much for being online with us.
Anytime. My pleasure.
And we'll see you in a couple of weeks, okay?
All right. Thanks so much, Bob. And aloha from Hawaii, everyone.
Aloha.
Aloha Friday.
Aloha.
All right.
All righty. That was Zach Roy. Goodbye now. That was Zach Royer from Hawaii. And he will be back in a couple of weeks. I tell you something, we are going out of our mind to see what he comes back with, because, let's face it, these are things that you would not know about ever, because he's in Hawaii, of course. But, of course, right now we are national. We are on the Bandit Radio FM network. We are on the Mix network. We are on Kinetic Hi-Fi.